The world's greatest mysteries aren't the ones we've failed to answer. They're the ones that have survived every attempt to explain them and still mystify us. Empires have risen and fallen. Libraries have burned. Languages have vanished. Entire histories have disappeared into the abyss. Yet somehow, certain questions endure, almost as if memory itself refuses to let them die. Each mystery leaves behind a page, some of which time helps us fill in as we learn more, but others may remain blank forever. But every page is also an admission that the universe knows something that we don't. Tonight we're celebrating a year of exploring mysteries, myths, marvels of science and culture, and peering into the future for a glimpse of what comes next. But what will we find when we get there? Join me to unravel all this and much more and enter the Codex Legendarium. I'm Shelby Melanson. Happy birthday, Codex. All right, wish time. Over the past year, we've explored synchronicities, solar flares, and simulation theory. We've hunted for lost planets and disappearing fireflies, dug up the truth about ancient machines, and saw that reality isn't quite what it seems. We zoomed in on plants that can see, dinosaurs brought back to life, and brain cells grown to play video games. We visited the ancient world, no-clipped into the Backrooms, reached into alternate timelines, turned lead into gold, traveled to the moon, almost, rediscovered tales of epic heroes, and peered inside the human mind, heart, and soul. In celebration, we're trying something new today, and we're gonna go down a list of some of the most peculiar phenomena, the most unexplained mysteries that our Legendarium, our world, has to offer, all at once. Specifically, 12 of them for the 12 months of Codex, in around 20 minutes. So, hold on to your hats, here we go. An ancient Roman cup that tells the story of a mythical king's downfall is packed with modern nanotechnology? Inside the British Museum, the Lycurgus Cup stuns viewers with its unique superpower, changing color from jade green to blood red, depending on the light that hits it. Inside the glass, unthinkably small flecks of colloidal gold and silver cause the color change. These nanoparticles are unfathomably small, thousands of times smaller than the width of a single human hair. The precise mixture scatters wavelengths of light so that your eye perceives the color differently, called surface plasmon resonance. Light that reflects off the glass looks green, but transmitted light shows as crimson. It's among the earliest and most advanced examples of nanotechnology in history, the only one that isn't smashed into pieces, by the way, and it's just shy of 2,000 years old. This painstakingly crafted cup depicts the Greek myth of King Lycurgus of Thrace. After he attacked the followers of Dionysus, the Greek god of winemaking, the nymph Ambrosia transformed into a vine to trap the king, bringing an end to his violence. The incredible artifact begs the question, what other technology appeared in the ancient world that we haven't yet discovered? Deep in rural Peru, there is a small museum, and in it, 10,000 carved stones. Each one is carved with scenes from a lost civilization, depicting both the fantastical and somehow the cutting edge of modern technology and even beyond. The catch? The carvings are believed to be between 12 and over 60,000 years old. The stones show scenes of humans hunting, running away from, and even riding, get this, dinosaurs, as in Triceratops and pterosaurs specifically. One of them highlights astronomy, with a man wearing a hat, clothing, and shoes looking through a telescope to observe a comet. Keep in mind, the first modern telescope didn't appear until the early 1600s. Other scenes show detailed medical procedures, including C-sections, open heart surgery, and, believe it or not, brain transplants. And then there are the stones that showcase flying machines and, again, get this, spaceships. And that's not to mention maps of ancient continents that somehow match up exactly with what we believe Earth looked like during this period, showing images of both living and extinct animals, including some that we can't identify, and scenes of a massive cataclysm, a world-ending event. They're called the Ica stones. Many mainstream scientists dismiss these stones as a hoax, made by an overly imaginative farmer with a carving tool and a little bit too much time on his hands. And claims of debunking the stones are extensive. But, to quote an article on the matter, there exist several stories as much in favor of their authenticity as there are against it. Do the stones depict the ancient technology of a bygone race, extinguished by a major disaster? Or something else entirely? Staying in South America, we're going deep into the Peruvian desert, where a series of strange, gigantic 2,000-year-old glyphs has mystified researchers since 1927. They're called the Nazca Lines. Over 800 individual straight lines come together to create 300 geometric figures, plus another 70 designs that look like animals and plants called biomorphs. The longest lines reach up to 30 miles, and the biomorphs range from 50 to up to 1,200 feet long. That's roughly the height of the Empire State Building, in case you were wondering. The lines and images were made by removing the top layer of reddish-brown desert pebbles to reveal the light-colored sand and clay that's underneath, which gets preserved thanks to Peru's dry, windless climate. Otherwise, they would just wash away. Some of the more mundane theories range from religious rituals to maps and markers of ancient water sources, to records of astronomical events. But the wildest theory comes from the 1968 book, Chariots of the Gods, where author Heinrich von Deichen suggests the lines served as messages or even landing strips for ancient astronauts. As in, visitors from space. He extends that same theory to the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and the Moai of Easter Island, just in case you were wondering. I'm gonna let you guys decide what you think of that one. Don't forget to share your theories in the comments. I cannot wait to read them. My fellow photographers and telescope lovers, you guys will really like this one. What if I told you that a 3,000-year-old piece of crystal might be evidence of an ancient telescope? This is the Nimrud lens, also known as the Leonard lens. It dates back to the year 710 BC, or roughly 2,730 years. British historian, archaeologist, and politician Sir Austen Henry Leonard rediscovered it back in 1850. And since then, theories about what it was made for have run wild. The lens is approximately 38 millimeters wide and has a focal length of roughly 12 centimeters, meaning it offers about 3 times magnification if you look through it. The British Museum says it might have been a decorative inlay in a piece of furniture or a burning glass used to start fires. And if you ever, light ants on fire with a magnifying glass, yeah, that kind of thing. But other theories suggest it was crafted as a magnifying glass or even, according to one researcher named Giovanni Pettinato, a telescope lens. To back it up, he cites ancient writings from Mesopotamia that describe the planet Saturn as a god surrounded by serpents. Saturn is visible to the naked eye, but to see its rings, you would definitely need some kind of optical assistance of some kind. What do you think? I can totally see Saturn's rings getting interpreted by the ancients as mystical snakes, especially with less than crystal clear optics to look through. Speaking of, this is Saturn, and this is its hexagon, and nothing else like it exists anywhere in the universe. A raging, never-ending storm that has defied beliefs about fluid dynamics since we first spotted it back in 1981. That's when NASA's Voyager 1 got up close and personal, although we didn't actually notice the odd shape on the footage from that mission until way later in 1988. The storm stretches 20,000 miles across and is located at the planet's North Pole. Despite violent wind speeds clocking 300 miles per hour, the unique formation somehow keeps its shape. But why? Theories have tried to explain it for decades, from massive atmospheric waves that interact with the planet's rotation, called Rossby waves, to a ring of jet streams that are helping to keep its shape in a process called anticyclonic shielding. The latest idea, according to Harvard scientists, suggests that the one-of-a-kind shape extends thousands of miles into the planet. But one thing is for sure, there is much that the solar system's most eye-catching giant has yet to reveal. Next, one of the greatest paradoxes in space that you probably already know. Space is enormous and billions of years old. So, where is everybody? That's the question physicist Enrico Fermi asked back in 1950, based on this logic. The Milky Way alone is home to 400,000 stars, and our Milky Way is but one of an estimated 200 billion, 2 trillion, or even 20 trillion galaxies in the entire observable universe, depending on which estimate you go with. And we should probably estimate high, based on the fact that anytime we point the James Webb Space Telescope towards a part of space that we thought was empty, it ends up finding tons of galaxies that we did not think were there. So, multiply all of that by a few 100,000 stars per galaxy. Then take the fact that every star in our own Milky Way has at least one planet, while 94% of them have multiple planetary systems. If that applies to the rest of those 20 trillion galaxies, suffice to say, that is a lot of planets in the universe. And depending on what kind of star they orbit, anywhere from 10 to 40% of stars may have a planet within what's called the habitable zone, meaning that it can sustain life. Again, meaning the odds of life out there in the universe are undeniably high, and yet we haven't met any. As for why we haven't, there are a bunch of possible answers. One of them comes from Chinese author Liu Cixin and his novel The Dark Forest. His dark forest theory suggests that in reality, we could be surrounded not only by life, but even by intelligent life. Keep in mind, this comes from a sci-fi novel. But that this life might just be intentionally staying radio silent. Because just like lighting a fire in the middle of the dark and dangerous woods, attracting attention to yourself and broadcasting your location isn't always the best way to stay safe when you don't exactly know what hostile forces could be lurking in the shadows. Another theory suggests a far darker possibility. What if every advanced civilization hits a challenge so steep, so unlikely, so improbable to overcome, that expanding to other planets becomes impossible? Or what if the reason we appear alone in the cosmos is because before achieving the ability to travel through long-distance space, civilizations always destroy themselves? The Great Filter theory's filter could come in many forms: nuclear war, AI, or an extinction-causing entity like mirror life. Or maybe it comes from a technological jump so steep that it's just not possible to make. That last one poses a terrifying question. Are we the unlikely success story that overcame the Great Filter? Or have we not hit it yet? Okay, one more space mystery, and this one might just be among the weirdest. Our Milky Way is moving, but it's not just drifting through space and time. It's being pulled by something hiding from our view. There is a region in our cosmic neighborhood, roughly 150 to 250 light years away. It's filled with such massive amounts of matter that it's dragging thousands of galaxies, including us, towards it at 1.3 million miles per hour. It's mostly made up of dark matter, another completely invisible gravitational anomaly that we know next to nothing about. See more about that here. But even if we could see dark matter, it wouldn't matter anyway, because the Great Attractor is hidden behind our Milky Way's zone of avoidance, aka the center of our galaxy that's so packed with dust and stars that it's totally obscured from our view. What's even weirder, we'll never actually reach the Great Attractor no matter how fast it pulls us, not in billions of years, despite its hold on us, because the expansion of the universe is slowly but surely ripping it apart. Next, 300 feet under the ocean in the frigid waters of the Baltic Sea, a giant unidentified object was spotted by a Swedish diving team back in 2011. Sonar images revealed something shocking. A solid, perfectly circular disc-shaped object, 200 feet across, with right angles and straight lines, appearing to show a depression in its surface, much like a staircase leading to a door. But that's not the craziest part. Trailing out from behind it is an almost 1,000-foot long trench, bearing a striking resemblance to the path of a crash site. Investigations revealed that the object was made out of granite, sandstone, and basalt, with unusual black-colored and burnt-looking material found in some of its cracks. As you can imagine, this caused quite the stir. Since then, scientists have dubbed this a very peculiar, yet nonetheless natural rock formation caused by glacial rocks during the Ice Age, and that the object's perfect symmetry has a lot more to do with uncalibrated sonar equipment than anything mysterious. Yet, the speculation persists. Is the formation just another example of Earth's eye-catching natural wonders? Or could it be a remnant of something else? Or even from somewhere else? In the skies above a tiny village in a valley in central Norway, a burning fireball is lighting up the night, and sometimes the day. Reports say that the unexplained lights take on hundreds of different forms, from floating orbs that stick around for hours, to fast-moving flashes across the sky, to colored lights that morph into different forms. They're called the Hessdalen Lights, and were formally reported back in 1981. But sightings of the strange lights actually go back to the 1800s. Locals say they show up anywhere from 10 to 20 times a year now. But for a 4-year span back in the early 1980s, sightings of these lights skyrocketed to up to 20 times a week, not a year. Speculation about them continues to this day, with theories ranging from the mundane, like unreported airplane lights and electrical charges in local rocks, to the sci-fi realm. Evidence of miniature black holes or even portals to other places. Have you ever seen the lights like this, or any other strange atmospheric phenomena? If so, what was it like? I'd love to hear about it. One of European folklore's greatest legends details a ghostly procession of supernatural riders. Huntsmen, hounds with glowing eyes, and horses were joined by elves, demons, or even souls of the dead. Together, they gallop through the countryside under the winter sky. Beware of the wild hunt, they'd say, lest you'd be caught up in the chase and become the hunted. In Norse myth and in Scandinavia, it was translated as the terrifying ride, or Odin's hunt. Seeing the ghostly riders was considered an omen of great disaster, either war, plague, or death. The pervasive legend appears all across Europe, likely from pre-Christian rituals, though Jacob Grimm of the Grimm brothers shared the terrifying story with the world back in 1835. Real quick, I want to emphasize that this next one isn't mythology. It's a real historical event. 500 years ago, in the year 1518, a strange possession overtook the residents of Strasbourg in modern-day France. It all started when one woman began dancing uncontrollably. She didn't stop to eat or even to sleep, and within days, dozens had joined her. The unstoppable dancing baffled the city's leaders, who actually hired musicians to encourage the dancers, thinking that it might get whatever it was out of their systems that much faster. But the plan backfired, and soon 400 people were reportedly caught up in what became known as the Dancing Plague. It was so intense that, allegedly, some people danced themselves to death, literally, from exhaustion or heart attack. Historians still debate the cause of this epidemic. Some suggest a mass poisoning from a kind of hallucinogenic mold that's commonly found in wet rye bread. Others speculate that it was a form of mass hysteria. This disease is among the most well-documented and most deadly recorded of the time. And it's also one of history's biggest mysteries, especially since it hasn't ever repeated itself since then. To this day, no single explanation exists, though I would love to hear your theories. I'd like to leave you with one last legend today. Number 13, a bonus. And it's one of my favorites from Norse mythology, all about unwavering strength of will, and how much of what might appear small in the face of adversity is actually the mightiest of all. Thor, the mighty and revered god of thunder, once journeyed to the land of the giants, with his companions to challenge the king of the giants. After arriving at his castle, the enormous king spotted Thor and immediately began to laugh, mocking him for his human and comparatively small stature. Basically, he was saying, "This is the almighty Thor, Asgard's greatest warrior. Look how tiny he is." The entire hall full of giants joined in laughing at him. Humiliated, but wishing to uphold both his and his kingdom's dignity, Thor accepted the king's offer to prove his strength in 3 contests. The first was a drinking contest, where Thor was given a drinking horn and instructed to drain it as quickly as possible. Thor drank and drank, but somehow, when he looked at the horn, it looked as if he'd only drank a sip or 2. The giants mocked him all over again. Next, for a show of strength, Thor was told to lift the king's cat into the air. Known for his immense strength, Thor quickly set off to toss the cat up, but he managed to raise only one of the creature's paws just slightly off the ground. The giants roared with even fiercer, crueler laughter than before. Last was a contest of battle prowess, and Thor was made to wrestle with who looked like an old woman. Despite his skills, by the end of the fight, Thor was forced to his knees. But while the giants laughed, the king's face faltered, and he fell silent. He immediately banished Thor from ever returning to the land of the giants, but not before revealing the truth of his 3 contests. The challenges Thor had faced were all illusions of the truth. The never-ending drinking horn was actually linked to the ocean, meaning that Thor was able to reduce the level of the entire sea in his efforts. The king's cat was really the enormous world serpent in disguise, and Thor had proved strong enough to lift its tail up off the ground. And the old woman he wrestled was actually the personification of not only old age, but of time itself, which had forced Thor to his knees, but not down to the ground. Though on the outside he was made to face belittling challenges that he mostly appeared to fail, the truth revealed was that the king knew that Thor was a force to be reckoned with, and his only hope of winning over the god of thunder was to make him believe that he was weak, and by crushing his spirit. 1 year ago, we began this journey with an idea. Explore the mysteries of our universe through science, myth, culture, philosophy, and much more, and ask questions that don't always have definitive answers. This channel is still young, but I like to think of it just like Thor's feats. Tiny, but mighty. If one thing is for certain, it's this. The more we discover, the more we realize how much remains unknown. And if you ask me, that's the best part, because mystery is an invitation to keep exploring, learning, and wondering. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being part of the first year of this journey. Here's to the mysteries we've uncovered, and to all the ones still waiting to be found, and above all, to our real-life Legendarium. But what do you think? What mysteries do you want to see added to the Codex next? Which has been your favorite episode so far, or favorite part of an episode? This one was actually meant to be 20 mysteries in 20 minutes, but you all know by this point that I cannot tell a short story. So 12 mysteries and a good bonus it is. I would love to hear thoughts in the comments about all of these mysteries and anything else that you want to see going forward. And if you have an idea, seriously, let me know. I read all the comments and I love getting inspiration from you guys. And of course, if you enjoyed, please take just a second to like and share this video, hit the hype button, and if you want to see more, subscribe. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, take just a second to check out the show's brand new Instagram page. I know, it only took me 11 months to make it, where I'm sharing some of my favorite snippets from not only the show, but also BTS content and lots of other extras and goodies. Until next time, stay curious and stay legendary. And real quick, YouTube thinks you will like this video next, so check it out before you go. Thank you, and happy birthday, Codex Legendarium.